What if Madara Uchiha and Sōsuke Aizen swapped opponents in their respectable war arcs, where Madara would have to get through the captains of the Gotei 13 and the Vizards, except they'll be in the same condition that they were when they faced Aizen, that is after facing their respective Arrancar opponents, and if he gets past them he'll get to fight Yamamoto with the help of Obito, since at this point Aizen had his own backup, Wonder-Wise. On the flip side, Aizen and Sōsuke will have to face off against the Five Kage, and then he'll have to face off against the Tail Beasts in their emerged forms, of course if he makes it past the Five Kage. And so this first video will cover Aizen's scenario, so please show your support by watching until the end, liking and subscribing for part 2.
挽回加点胸骨絡松真珠挽回千本桜影地
挽回水月
挽回観音開き紅姫改め
The Five Kage or Five Shadows are the leaders of the shinobi world, masters of their respective arts who could challenge even the man known as the ghost of the Uchiha Madara. To understand the scaling of the Five Kage, we can refer to the Akatsuki, who are all essentially Kage level opponents, the Bijou or Tail Beasts, and Edo Madara, who actually faced off against the Kage. Pain's objective for the Akatsuki was for them to gather all the Tail Beasts' power, to create a super weapon with the power to destroy entire nations. The nations on the map being these superstructures, where depending on the mode of destruction would yield values of country level up to multi-continental. But how would the members of the Akatsuki and Kage compare to this? Pain believed that in teams of 2, the Akatsuki members would never lose to Jinchuriki or Tailed Beast. And to make things even better, we have seen cases where Akatsuki members, even individually, depending on their fighting styles, have been able to take on Jinchuriki like Killer Bee, a perfect Jinchuriki with full control of Gyuki the 8 Tails, and Roshi, Jinchuriki of the 4 Tails, Son Goku, who in the Minato's story could manifest an avatar, and willfully use the Bijou's strongest weapon, the Tail Beast Bomb. This makes it consistent for Akatsuki members to be able to take on not only Tail Beast, but also Jinchuriki. Furthermore, due to their intellect and control, Jinchuriki are stronger than Tail Beasts. And there are several instances where Akatsuki members have been shown to trade blows with Kages, if not outright defeat them, which shows further relativity between Akatsuki members and Kages. And the Tail Beasts, which they can rival, have shown the power to destroy entire mountain ranges. Again with the Valley of Destruction creating a range of mountain to country level, with the likes of Kurama the Ninetales making up a significant portion of this explosion, with he and the Eight Tails creating this feat later on in the war arc, for which many would argue multi-continental given the curvature of the landscape. To make further arguments, we have seen the Five Kage take and defend against attacks from Madara's partial Susanoo, and they only truly break through its defenses with combined jutsu like Raikage's Nin Taijutsu combined with Onoki's weighted boulder jutsu, or by using durability negation through Onoki's particle style. This is important because Madara's Tengai Shinsei scales above this partial Susanoo, as well as his Edo Tensei body, as he confirmed that this jutsu would have obliterated both him and the Tsuchikage. And when the second meteor hit, it did in fact destroy Madara and the Tsuchikage's bodies. And while their method wasn't simply through directly striking it, Onoki and Gaara stopped the first meteor with their combined jutsu, again creating some kind of comparison between the combined jutsu of the Kage and Madara's partial Susanoo. For a final reference, even the Raikage in version 2 was said to be at the level of a Bijou in terms of chakra. And since Karin made the statement, she was more than likely referring to Killer Bee and the Eight Tails, since that was the last Bijou we know that she saw. And it's consistent for Raikage to have a similar output to Killer Bee, since the title of A goes to the strongest in the Cloud Village. So a low end of around island level to a high end of multi-continental, and an average of country level. As far as speed is concerned, light speed has been tossed back and forth throughout the Naruto manga. C uses light from lightning release to blind his opponent. Whether it's propelled at light speed or not, Darui does harness light for his laser circus. A young Kakashi once cut through lightning, which is said to be able to reach the ground in a thousandth of a second. The Raikage rushing at light-like speed could be a simile, or a literal interpretation of the lariat's speed. And Haku's Kekkei allows for light speed attacks. You can argue these different points back and forth, but there seems to be a consistency of techniques existing at the speed of light. And novel Orochimaru also reacted to light beams. So among the Kage with their jutsu and techniques, it's not inconsistent for them to be light speed and even faster than light. Now, how does Aizen compare in terms of speed and power? I should first add that Gin was not comparing his Bankai to the speed of sound, but according to the raw Japanese, the speed at which he hits his hands together. And he didn't specifically ask Ichigo if he heard the sound, rather, did you catch that or did you get it? And while the Bankai is faster than sound, that's simply a metric for us to understand. Like Dispo at the Tournament of Power being faster than light and sound is obvious, the same way Zetsu referenced the speed of sound as a metric. But as far as actual feats go, Uryu was already approaching light speed with this movement, while Mayuri Kurotsuchi was able to easily speed blitz this same Uryu, despite having one of the lowest stats in physical traits including movement. On the other hand, one of the fastest captains, Byakuya Kuchiki, gets completely speed blitzed by Bankai Ichigo, who would go on to further showcase his speed. And this whole faster than light speed idea gets completely destroyed by later characters who are still weaker than Aizen. Aizen's raw stats literally slam all of the Espada without the use of Kyōka Suigetsu. He even brought number 6 to his knees with aura, and told number 3 that she was too weak to fight under him. Aizen is also somewhat able to rival Genryusai, who also went through the trouble of creating a suicide trap just to defeat Aizen. Although without factoring potential traps and tricks, Genryusai is stronger than Aizen. Genryusai could trade blows with Royd Lloyd, who had up to 80% of Yuha's power. And although a stronger Yuha fought Ichibei, when compared to Genryusai, the number of significant souls that Yuha absorbed could be counted on your fingers. So even with some kind of speed and power conversion, Genryusai and Aizen would still scale to a good percentage of these end-of-series speedsters. As for power, the likes of Asashiro, who scaled beneath the likes of Aizen and Unohana, in a weakened state could threaten the walls of the Dangai Precipice world with his explosions. These same walls were durable enough to withstand the explosion of an entire dimension called the Valley of Screams. At the lowest of interpretation, 2 planets would have been destroyed entirely, and the explosions not only cancelled out the collision force, but also pushed the worlds back into their original positions. Asashiro replicated, if not surpassed, this feat while being merged with a mere section of the Dangai Precipice world, and would be massively stronger when he returned to the Seirete, where his body is fused with the entire country. Therefore, scaling above this would make Aizen significantly stronger than the Five Kage, and thanks to his enormous upscale from Soul Society, they wouldn't be able to outdo him in speed either. Tsunade's physical strength wouldn't matter in this case because Aizen is significantly stronger, and neither would regeneration since Aizen's attacks can cut through the soul, and things like Katsuya's acid would get shrugged off by Reiatsu. Raikage's Nin Taijutsu fighting style would also be useless since he relies on speed and striking power beneath Tsunade's. The same applies to Garo, who uses mostly sand-based ninjutsu, and his sealing jutsu can be broken by those who significantly outscale him. Mei is probably the most underrated among the Kage, but her water style could counter Madara's fire jutsu, which is said to be outstanding among his other fire jutsu. However, pure elemental techniques would simply be countered by Aizen's power, and he has access to Kidos based on elements as well. The best offensive jutsu would be particle style, but that wouldn't work either. And it's not just a matter of speed, but pretty much every technique that Aizen uses depends on reishi manipulation. For humans, it's atoms, but for Shinigami, it's reishi, and they use their spiritual pressures to construct things out of reishi. And then there's Kyōka Suigetsu, his shikai, which controls all 5 senses, and the sense of spiritual energy. The only requirement is that they see his shikai release once. As for the tail beast, the same argument applies to them because of Aizen's speed, versatility, and power level, and the fact that he can simply hypnotize them if he wishes. Then he could seal them with Bakudo. Therefore, Aizen would defeat the Five Kage as well as the tail beasts. Next, Madara, and in some scenarios paired with Obito, will be taking on Aizen's role in the Bleach universe. The Winter War against the 13 Court Guard companies and the Vizards. Be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment. And if you want to request a video, the instructions are in our Discord server. A link will be in the description. Cheers.